Welcome to FitFarm, a show dedicated to creating a better life through fitness and the grappling arts. I'm Joseph Aronson.
I'm Jackie Baker. It's time to get jacked.
What's up, everybody? This is your host, Joey. I am out here by myself tonight. Unfortunately, your co-host is more than likely not going to be doing these with us anymore, as she has some other things going on keeping her busy. So for now, it's going to be just me. And basically, I came out here just to recap UFC 222. Ordered it over the weekend, was actually pleasantly surprised at how good all those fights were. I wasn't expecting a lot. It was actually expected to be kind of a lower selling pay-per-view, and they'd been saying it'd be better off as like a fight night or UFC on Fox or something, but really it lived up to some serious some serious killer fights. First, before I get into that, I do want to give a shout out to the guys at Powertrain Tape. Thank you so much for being with us from the beginning. And if any of you guys are into grappling, like jiu-jitsu, judo, anything like that, any kind of sport where you're taping your fingers or toes up, give them a look on www.powertraintape.com and use the discount code FitFarm at checkout, and you will save 10% off your order. Also, for this week, we did have a winner, Adam The Wiz Michael, for the reviews. So if you could reach out to us, Adam The Wiz Michael, again, and you can redeem your prize. I know I told you guys we were working on the food prep videos, and they're just about finished up. I guess I wanted to kind of tell you, break down some of the things we had in those videos. We had the initial prep, which for me is like super important that your vegetables are readily available, because all the time it's too easy to just forget to throw, either some green peppers or broccoli or something healthy in with your meal because it's extra work, right? So that was one of the biggest things on that video, was showing you the importance of, getting these vegetables sliced, clean, ready to go, so they're just easy to grab and go. Same with the meals. Once the whole meal's made, if you're, construction like me in the summer, it's in your lunchbox already ready to go. You don't have to throw it together if you have short breaks, or if you don't have access to, good food at restaurants or anything like that, you've got everything ready to go. Also, one last thing before I get into UFC 222. We are on Patreon now, so if you guys are looking for any way to support the show, please give us a look there, www.patreon.com/fitfarm. And I think that about covers it for my rambling. Let's get into UFC 222. What was that, March 3rd? Yeah, March 3rd. It was, awesome. They had Mackenzie Dern made her UFC debut. Cyborg fought again, Chris Cyborg. And there's another guy. Yeah, Sean O'Malley. Yeah, actually, he was a wild man. Really good one to watch, too. But let's start with the prelims, which are on Fight Pass. Oh, Caraway versus Stamen. Stamen won via a split decision, which I thought was a little questionable. He did come in definitely looking the part. He came in stacked, and he just looked like a killer, but I didn't know that he did enough to get the nod, but I guess, enough judges thought he did. Then you had Mike Pyle fighting his retirement fight versus Zach Otto. And Zach Otto, I remember this, came out just aggressive, vicious, swinging for the fences. He won via TKO actually in the first round. So it was kind of sad seeing a guy like that. Mike Pyle's been around for a long time, fought a lot of fights, and he's always been kind of closer to the lower level, so he was always really stressed about if I lose this one, I'm going to be cut, or, if I win, I can stay for another couple fights. So he went out there with the confidence, hey, this is my last fight. Either way, I know I'm retiring. And it's just sad to see him go out like that, because you could tell he was very emotional about that loss. He was slapping the mat hard, or slapping the cage hard when he lost, and he looked like he was going to cry when Rogan went to interview him. It was too bad for Mike Pyle, excuse me. It was a bummer, man. Total bummer. As far as Otto, he was super, super respectful in victory. He, he took it like a professional. He just basically, hats off to Mike Pyle. He said his goodbye to him and talked him up real good, so that was nice of him. On the bright side for Pyle, I guess he's got a 4-year-old at home he's going to be able to spend time with, so that'll be good for him. Moving on, CB Dalloway versus Hector Lombard. Man, this one was wow. For anyone that hasn't seen it yet, this is a spoiler alert, of course. Actually, everything I'm going over is spoiler alert, but Hector Lombard, man, end of round 1, horn went off. He landed a huge 1-2 on CB Dalloway. Both shots blatantly after the buzzer, or after the horn. And that rocked him. I mean, the dude was concussed, kept asking what happened. Dalloway kept asking what happened, had no idea what had happened. They decided he wasn't able to continue fighting after that, and they actually had to escort him. They had to put him on the stretcher and wheel him out after that, and Lombard got disqualified. So Dalloway won the fight, and it was too bad, because it looked like it would have actually been a good fight. I had to end like that after 1 round. I don't feel sorry for Lombard at all, though. Actually, if he didn't hear that horn, there's something wrong, because even when I was watching it happen in real time, I was like, oh my goodness. Then you watch the replays, and it's even worse. So hopefully Dalloway's okay. Hopefully, unfortunately, probably a minor concussion for some stuff that happened, when the round was over. Kind of sad to see that, but moving on. Dodson versus Munoz. It was kind of a snooze fest. Dodson won via decision. It was very, very close fight. He moved around enough and did what he had to get the win. Also, another thing I wanted to say about these fights is I don't know if I'm the only one that finds this like the slightest bit annoying, but you start on UFC Fight Pass for the prelims for the first few fights. Then you got to switch over to Fox Sports 1 to watch the next few fights. And then you have to order the pay-per-view to watch the next few. So you're going through 3 different places to watch the fights. And, I don't know why, but that was driving me crazy last night. Usually when I watch the fights, it's at someone else's house, so I'm not as worried about the specifics. But that was kind of minor annoyance. Anyways, moving on. There was a guy, I think was it Alexander Hernandez? Man, that dude's a freak. He came in 155 pounds, and I swear he looked like he was 200 pounds. And jacked. Super shredded. Muscles on muscles. It was his debut. Man, first round knockout. His post-fight interview skills were great, too. Talking really perfect, and then he added something, grabbed the mic and had to add something in that stuck with me. Said, "You didn't know me then, but I promise you know me now." And I guess now I do know you because of what you said, but that was, I swear that was like the oddest thing at the end of the interview. It was so good. It was super humble, this and that, and then he had to throw that in at the end. It was kind of threw me off. But anyways, beast, dude. That dude's a freak. He's going to be doing some big things. I have a feeling, man. Walked right through him. Moving on to Mackenzie Dern's debut fight. What can I say, man? She won. She won via decision, but it was definitely questionable, to say the least. The only round The only round I had her winning was round 3. I had Yoder for rounds 1 and 2, actually. I was not very impressed with Mackenzie Dern's debut at all. I mean, obviously she's a beast in jiu-jitsu. Everyone knows that. But I think she's got a ways to go on her wrestling. She couldn't even take her down. Yeah, and the appearance, too. She kind of looked, I don't know. She just looked awkward, the way she moved around out there. I don't know. I really hope that she can get that in check, because I think if she could just get her striking to be, even close to as good as these upper level athletes, I think she'll do great. But she's really going to need to work on her takedowns, because it took 3 rounds to get this girl down. And, I mean, she was rushing in, going in with her chin up, tried for takedowns for 2 rounds and just couldn't get it. And then you get to her post-fight interview, and this had to, for me, in my eyes, I feel like, the nod was given to her because there's a push to build her up. And, so you go to the post-fight interview, and she has an interpreter up there for Portuguese, but she was born and raised in America. It's kind of weird, I guess. I kind of, that turned me off quite a bit to that whole situation, kind of lost a lot of points with me on that. Moving on. Kat Zingano versus Kellen Vieira. And, Kat came back with 2 years off. Okay, so you got to give her that. And this girl she was fighting looked like a straight savage. And she had very good takedowns in judo. I mean, Kat, there wasn't much Kat could really do. I mean, she fought with all her heart, and she was giving it to her on her feet. But Vieira just she had some great throws, just all around, takedowns. And once she got her down, she had serious control. She just smothered Kat. Yeah, the majority of the fight was Kat, fighting an uphill battle, unfortunately. And at this point, Kat Zingano had 10 years on her, I believe, 9 or 10. And she's at an age where, I don't know if she's going to be fighting much more. I think she's 36. So it's kind of hard telling where she's going to go from here. But, man, it was sad, because that's one of the last female fighters from that era. And it's sad to see her get beat like that by one of these up-and-comers, but it's just the game's changing, man, and you got to keep changing with it. Next fight was the Skyscraper Struve versus Andrei Arlovsky. And the first thing I want to say about that, or ask, was, has anyone ever taught Struve the standard jab or push kick? Because he is 7 foot tall, has an 7-inch reach advantage, and 25 pounds on Arlovsky. Arlovsky's not a wrestler, and I think took him down 4 or 5 times. Arlovsky got more takedowns in that fight than he had in his whole career. And I don't understand, man. If you're 7 foot tall, there's no reason I should be able to get within a few feet of you. I should not even be able to punch you, I should never get that close. I should eat at least a couple on my way in, and he wasn't working the jab. I mean, he threw a couple leg kicks, threw a good eye poke midway through, I think it was the second round. Other than that, man, it was not what I was expecting out of him. I was expecting him to play the long game, play the jab, play the push kick, just keep your distance, win like that. Arlovsky's not a wrestler. Like I said, he got more takedowns in that fight than he had gotten in his whole career, which is, he's been fighting since the year 2000. That's 18 years. He's had 3 takedowns up until that fight total, and he had 5 in that fight. It was just insane. But hats off to Arlovsky. I mean, he's still doing it, and he's almost 40 years old. That's impressive, and he's still evolving as a fighter. He's still growing, it's so fun to watch him, man. Just all the different stages, where he had the longer hair, he was always howling to where he is now, and I wish him the best. Hopefully he can get back up in the top 4 or 5 and maybe get one more title run before he hangs it up. Next fight was superstar Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Andre Sukumtat. Man, that fight was amazing. So much fun. O'Malley is such an exciting fighter. He's got a bright future ahead of him. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to do some big things for sure. He's so entertaining. I mean, he's always switching up his style, always changing up his approach, whether it's a jab, head kick, body shot. He's constantly moving all over. I think for sure he had the first 2 rounds. Brought it into the third round. He had been dismantling him the whole time on the feet, even on the ground. He was aggressive. Very, very great. I think it was about midway through the third round, he caught him with a kick that must have broke his foot or something, because when he put his foot back down, he was literally limping, or he was hopping on one leg for the remainder of the fight. And unfortunately, Sukumtat was not able to capitalize on that. For some reason, he thought taking him down to the ground would be the answer to that, where he can still use his jiu-jitsu. It's frustrating. Frustrating to watch. I'm happy O'Malley won, of course, because that dude's going to be, like I said, he's going to be a star. But it's a bummer for Sukumtat, because he could have had him. All he had to do was wait for it to stand back up. The dude's hopping around on one leg. I mean, you got it. At that point, when you're at that level and you're both, at that echelon of fighters, if a guy loses one limb, especially a leg, chances are you're going to be able to beat him. But you have to stand it back up. And you hear his corner yelling it for a little bit, and then when he got on top, they're yelling him for him to ground and pound. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get how he didn't catch that. It was very frustrating to watch. But hats off to O'Malley. The post-fight interview was awesome, hilarious. Just laying on his back. He couldn't even stand. He couldn't even stand to get his hand raised. That's how bad his foot was. He had to do his post-fight interview laying on the floor of the cage. But he won. He 2 rounds to 1. That's why you don't let it go to the refs, man. There was a second he could have Sukumtat, that is, could have finished him. And bummer, man. That's a bummer. Moving on. Frankie Edgar versus Brian Ortega. Man, I am officially on the Brian Ortega hype train, just so everybody knows. So we're clear here. I'm not holding anything back. I'm on that hype train. And, man, after that fight, for sure, I'm a fan. Up until this fight, no one had finished Frankie Edgar. Brian Ortega was going in undefeated. So you got a lot going on here. These two are I believe the number 2 and number 3 contenders as well, with Jose Aldo still number 1, which, to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I would put both of these above him, but, I don't make the rankings, obviously. A couple things to notice about this was Ortega was so relaxed, so composed. When he walking in, when he was stalking him in the cage, just everything, man. Like, he knew. It seemed like back when Conor McGregor would fight, he knew what was going to happen before it even happened. And he's got that crazy grip on some of his submissions we've seen in the past, and he almost caught Frankie with a guillotine, actually, for a brief second on his feet. But it didn't matter. Later in the same round, the first round, caught him with a nasty elbow when Frankie tried to get in close, because, one thing I did notice was Ortega had quite a bit of height and reach on him. And Frankie obviously had to work a little harder to get inside. And, man, he caught him with just a nasty elbow that got him wobbling. And I saw it. I even called it as it happened. This fight's over. Within maybe 10 seconds of that elbow, caught him with a nasty uppercut. I mean, we're talking like Ngannou Overeem style uppercut. It was nasty. Both of his feet came off the ground when he got hit with that. Flatlined him, and he caught a couple more on the ground just for good measure, but those weren't needed. I mean, that's just as fast as the ref could get in. He got a couple more. And, man, it was just crazy. Crazy to see Edgar finish like that, and crazy this guy just comes in and looked like he didn't even broke his sweat, you know. His post-fight interview was super impressive. Very very calm, very composed for a guy that's as young as him. That was very impressive. First thing he talked about was God, which, you don't see that a lot, so I respect that, Christian man coming right out and saying that. Then he talks about his, Brian Ortega organization, which is helping people all over the world. And it's just, man, the guy's doing big things, and he's the real deal. And sounds like he actually gives a shit about the people. So I'm on the hype train, man. I want to see that man have a title shot. So I don't know if he has to beat Jose Aldo first to get to that, but I would love to see that happen. I mean, the way he looked after that fight, he looked like he could fight again in 3 months. He took literally virtually no damage. So hats off to Brian Ortega. Then the main event. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you something. First of all, Chris Cyborg is a freaking animal. Okay, and in order to beat her, you're going to need someone just as strong or stronger. I mean, you can't take a girl that's never fought in the UFC. You're going to make her fight up a weight class on top of it. Okay, so this is your first bout in the UFC. You've never had this kind of competition. And we're going to make you go ahead and fight a little heavier too. Okay, cool. And it's just against Cyborg. No big deal, right? Unfortunately, Yana, which I have a hard time with her last name, so I opted to not use it. She had a very tough outing. Man. First off, is there anyone Cyborg can't beat? I mean, watching her, there is no one, I don't think, a woman alive right now that can take her. It's just crazy. So she's out there. Within the first minute, she catches one stiff right hand from Cyborg, and you could tell the match was over right there. Everything about her disposition changed. She dropped to a low-level single, and she caught Cyborg off guard, took her down, which actually surprised a lot of people. But Cyborg was able to get right back up to her feet and just, man, lay it on her, dude. It was nasty. She caught her again with the right and just buckled her again. Little ground and pound, fight over. I mean, first round TKO. You could tell Yana was even afraid to engage after catching that right. So man, yeah, you feel bad for Cyborg too, almost, because the way she walks through these girls, you can tell she's the type of athlete that wants a competitive fight, but right now there's no one that can hang with her. And I didn't really have a whole lot for takeaways from that fight. Just, if you're going to fight Cyborg, you probably get a girl her size and strength and someone that's been on the big stage before. I think as far as UFC, they really dropped the ball making that the main event because, Yana just wasn't quite up to that level. And, they say, hey, she trained with Holly Holm, this and that, but you can only learn so much, until that just freak of a woman gets her hands on you. There's really nothing you can do. She's just an animal. Talking about Cyborg. That was it. But overall, I might be dogging some of these fights or talking down on some of them. That fight card was worth the purchase. And I don't buy the pay-per-views, but I went out on a whim. And this one was definitely worth it. Usually I'll go somewhere else, buddy's house that's got them, or somewhere that's got the fights, because I'm like, I'm very interested in the fights, but I don't want to be invested. This, I said, hey, I'm going to buy it. I'm just going to watch it by myself at home, and I was blown away. It was actually amazing. Some of these fights were just amazing. For anyone listening still, I just want to say thank you for hanging in with me. Usually I can have a little back and forth with a guest, whether it's Jackie or whoever. But, unfortunately, like I said, it's just me tonight. But I just wanted to, give everybody the rundown of what happened in case they weren't able to catch the fights or in case they just wanted to hear me tell them. Want to hear my sweet voice whisper to you about the fights. I think that's it. We're going to leave it with that. And I have 2 huge guests that are coming out this week, so stay tuned for those 2. One actually is a professional fighter himself, fought for Bellator. And the other is an amazing personal trainer. I mean, he trains athletes. That's all he trains anymore. None of this beginner training, nothing like that. He's into athletic training only. He's very advanced. I mean, he talks about some amazing stuff. I can't wait to have you guys hear that one. That's enough of me rambling tonight, guys. We'll hear you later on in the week. Bye-bye.